The battles of New Ulm were two battles in August of the Dakota War of 1862. The settlement of New Ulm, Minnesota, had 900 settlers around the time and was the largest settlement near the Sioux Reservation. After the Battle of Fort Ridgely, the town was seen as a tempting target for a Sioux attack. The topography of the town also presented an advantage for the Sioux, since the land rises some 200 feet out of the Minnesota River Valley in two large steps, with wooded area to provide cover for an attack. Background: in 1851, the Santee Sioux Indians of Minnesota had been forced to cede to the government their hunting ground of 24 million acres. In 1852, they were corralled into a reservation on the Minnesota River. In 1858, they were swindled of half that land. In August 1862, when the government failed to pay the $1.4 million compensation provided by treaty, and its agents and politicians stole most of the supplies that the treaty granted, the Indians rebelled. When Chief Little Crow complained that despite stacks of provisions in clear sight, supposedly theirs by treaty, his people had nothing to eat, the government agent responded, "So far as I'm concerned, let them eat grass or their own dung." Minnesota political leaders, led by Governor Alexander Ramsey, in league with commercial interests, advocated expelling all Indians from Minnesota. On August 18, 1862, a recruiting party for Civil War volunteers left New Ulm, but was ambushed in Milford Township. The survivors raced back to town and warned the settlers of an impending attack. The townspeople prepared for the attack by erecting barricades on the streets and packing the women and children into any available brick buildings. The first attack came on August 19, with about 100 Sioux warriors firing on the city from the bluff behind the town. A small number of civilians returned the fire as best as they could. Later in the day, a thunderstorm discouraged the Indians from continuing their attack, and there were no chiefs present to give orders. The first battle ended with 6 settlers killed and 5 wounded. After the first attack, Charles Eugene Flandrau reached the city as part of a detachment from St. Peter and LeSueur. Dr. Asher W. Daniels, Dr. Otis Eyre, and Dr. William Worrell Mayo were also part of the group. Dr. Mayo and Dr. William R. McMahon of Mankato set up a hospital in the Dakota House, and Drs. Eyre and Daniels set up a hospital in a store across the street. This undoubtedly helped in the treatment of the wounded. Flandrau's forces were bolstered by about 100 men from Mankato, 2 companies from LeSueur, and militias from Brown County, Nicolay County, St. Peter, Lafayette, and New Ulm. In all, Flandrau had about 300 citizen soldiers under his command, but most were poorly armed. Meanwhile, more than 1,000 settlers were barricaded on New Ulm's Main Street. On Saturday, August 23, around 9:30 in the morning, the Sioux began their second attack on the city. The Sioux were superior in numbers, and were able to encircle the entire town. The defenders of New Ulm set many buildings on fire in an attempt to create an open space without cover. Captain William B. second in command, was killed while leading soldiers beyond one of the barricades of the city. After nightfall, Flandrau ordered that the rest of the buildings outside of the barricades to be burned. In all, 190 structures within the city were destroyed. The next morning, August 24, the Indians reappeared, fired some harmless long-range shots, and then withdrew. Flandrau convened with his officers later that day and decided to evacuate the city, due to a shortage of ammunition and food and epidemics of disease. The following morning, August 25, 2,000 people, including 153 wagons and a large number of refugees, left the city and headed to Mankato, about 30 miles to the east. The procession was escorted by about 150 troops and made it through to Mankato safely. William Watts Folwell, a Minnesota historian, remarked, "This was no sham battle, no trivial affair, but an heroic defense of a beleaguered town against a much superior force, Flandreau's forces at New Ulm." Note several other units were under Flandreau's command: Captain H. W. Holly's Company of Winnebago Guards, Captain C.I. Post Company of Fillmore County Volunteer Mounted Infantry, Captain N.P. Colburn Company of Fillmore County Volunteer Militia, Captain C.F. Buck's Company of Winona Rangers, Captain D.L. Davis. Goodhue County Rangers served under his command at the southern frontier. Captain Flandreau's Company. Killed: Lt. William Ladd. Privates: Max Heach, Jerry Queen, indistinct writing. Wounded: Privates: Ed Andrews, W.C. Str. W.M. Langhast, George Moser. Sick: Private H. Hum, Captain Bierbauer's Mankato Company. Killed: Privates: N.E. Houghton, W.M. Nicholson. Wounded: Privates: Geo. Andrews, F.M. Andrews, Patrick Burns, John Fassat, Adam Freundler. 1st Battalion Brown County Militia. Company B under Captain Ignatz Rienault's Company served at New Ulm September 15 to October 15, 1862. Lt. Charles Wagner Company C, a regular state militia, of New Ulm served from September 15 to October 10, 1862. Private John Armstrong killed by Indians. Captain Charles Ruse Company A. Wounded: Privates: John Peller, Louis Schmitz. Captain Louis Buggett's Company, Brown County Militia. Captain A.M. Bean's Company, Nicolay County. Captain William Delauter's Company, Le Sueur Tigers No. 1. Killed: 1st Lt. A.M. Edwards. Private William Lusky, Luke Smithson. Wounded and died. Wounded: Private John Smith. Captain A.E. Saunders's Company, Le Sueur Tigers No. 2. Killed: 5th Sergeant W.M. Maloney. Privates: M. Ahireen, W.M. Culp. Wounded: Captain A.E. Saunders, severely. 4th Corporal Thomas Howard, slightly in hip. Lt. William Huey's Company, St. Peter, Nicolay County, Guards. Captain Seidel D. Polders, Lafayette Company. Captain John Belm's Company of 11th Regiment, 3rd Brigade, Minnesota Militia. Killed: Privates: Jacob Castor, Eagland, Julius Kickstein, Malbines Mayer, John C. Michaels, August Ropke, Leopold Senska. Died of wounds. Privates: G. W. Otto Barth, Adolf Stumple. Died in St. Paul. Wounded: Privates: L. Fay, R. Fisher, Julius Guthing, William Guthing, George Getlish, Hess, Hansman, Harriman, Daniel Schillick, August Westphal. In August 1862, the following units relieved New Ulm: Captain Joseph Anderson Company of Mounted Men, the Cullen Guard. Captain E. St. Julian Cox Company of the Frontier Avengers. September 1862. 1st Battalion Brown County Militia. Captain Ignatz Rienault's Company B served at New Ulm September 15 to October 15, 1862. Lt. Charles Wagner Company C, a regular state militia, of New Ulm served from September 15 to October 10, 1862. Casualty: Private John Armstrong killed by Indians.